couple things I want to know, a little bit off topic, but I wanted to cover it earlier and I forgot. And I can't let you leave without saying this. Whenever you go out and meet with a client, never, ever, I told you I wasn't going to tell you not to do things, this time I'm going to tell you. Never give them your exactimate estimate until they sign with you. So earlier I was saying, I'll let you come if you give me an estimate. If you have to do an estimate, do it for them at the job site. Hand them your laptop and let them hold it for as long as they want, but they don't get it until they sign with you. Saying I can do everything all at once, all hands on deck, overhead and profit, right? And so my thing is like, well, Mr. Adjuster, I believe it's going to be very complex. It's going to require a ton of coordination. They're like, no, we don't see it. Okay, well, I think what I'm hearing you say is that I can get it all done at the same time, all hands on deck, with the same people. Well, I'll tell you what, I don't think that's going to be possible, right? I really don't think that's going to be possible, but I'll tell you what, my job is to perform all repairs that are prescribed by you. So I'm willing to give it an old college try, all right? I'm willing to give it a shot, okay? I'm willing to remove overhead and profit from the estimate, provided that you're willing to revisit this when it's no longer hypothetical and it becomes an actual. Now, I do understand. I'd have to bring you proof and documentation as to why that is, okay? Fair enough? Okay, great, all right? So now I know overhead and profit is the issue. So that's one of the issues. So from start to finish, I've got to document overhead and profit. And how does that work? I told you part of it already, the inspection. I mean, I'm going to find more items from my inspection that's going to justify that overhead and profit. Because I'm going to find more damage, right? More complex. I'm making it more complex. But we're moving past that now, all right? Who all here uses, if anyone, a CRM system like Acculinks, Job Nimbus? Which one do you use? Acculinks. Acculinks. Mindcase. Anybody else? Email, text message, calendar, right? My point is here, when I really want to drive home, is that you go into a restaurant nowadays or anywhere, a store, anything, everything's in the computer, right? Everything gets inputted into the computer, every little thing, So it's not that obnoxious. Everywhere's in the computer. So I feel like contractors, we need to get up to speed, all right? And put everything into the computer, all right? But if you were to do that, like in Acculinks, you have new client added, new appointment, new order, right? New this or that. Like all these things are already really being inputted in there through the course of you running your business, right? Like it would be in a restaurant. So for you, the idea of proving complexity, for example, could be as simple as you just exporting everything onto a sheet, all activity onto a log sheet. Forgetting about CRMs for a second, let's go back several years. Let's think of it in terms of we need to be keeping a log book, okay, for every last little thing that happens on every job. Every little thing, down to September 21st. Hold on. Captain's log. September 21st, 2019, 11:42 a.m. Jimmy left the job site to go to ABC to pick up a stick of drip edge. Returned at such and such time, right? This date met the client to pick out colors. This date did this, right? This is all complexity, coordination, right? But I'm focusing on the complexity. I think every job is complex, okay? So I think if you and if we went to a sporting event or something together, right? And we came back and we were telling these guys about it. We were both at the same thing together, but our stories and descriptions of it are going to be probably different, right? Like you could tell these guys, and you might be like a short version. We got a drink, the guy was out there with the mascot thing, shooting the shirts up in the stands, almost got one, blah, 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 and that's it. But me, I'm not shutting up about it. I'm rambling on and telling you about every last little thing, and we did this, and we did that, But we were at the same thing. It's just that I described it differently. And it's storytelling is what it really is. True storytelling. My point is that every job is complex. It's just that you're not you're not describing it well enough. And so I say, how do you learn to describe it? You could learn by keeping a log of every last little thing that happens and literally conveying that information to the insurance company. How? By any means necessary. And you might say, hey, what about this idea? Will this work? Yes. The answer is yes. I'm just saying, any documentation. That's my point. Any documentation, any little bit of documentation will help to drive this home, right? But also coordination. Okay. Have you ever had an insurance adjuster tell you, we'll give you the overhead and profit if you send us your subcontractor invoices? You ever had that happen? You send it to them, right? If you haven't had it happen, you will. When they do ask for it, send them to them, but redact the prices. Absolutely. Redact the prices. These days, I've actually had a couple of adjusters recently where they're like, okay, I need you to send me the unredacted prices. And I'm like, are you a new adjuster? That's like my default for insanity. Are you a new adjuster? Are you new here? You know what I mean? That's because do you hear you right now? No, I'm not doing that under any circumstances. That's proprietary information and it's none ya. You know what I mean? That is none of your business. I am not for any second going to give them my unredacted subcontractor invoice unless that subcontractor invoice was way more than what I can come up with in Xactimate, and I'm passing it along as a bid item, okay? And I want my 10 and 10 on top of it, okay? So I'm not going to play that game, but that taught me that means something to them. About coordination, I guess. You know what I mean? That means something to them. So, okay, interesting. So whenever they fight me on overhead and profit and they say they don't want to give it to me on the front end, I throw it in the C bucket and then I go all in to document overhead and profit all the way through the build, right? And then I get all the logs of everything that ever happened, and I'll go ahead and collect up the subcontractor invoices myself and offer it up to them before they ever ask for it, right? As many of them as I have. But then aside from that, what other documentation? Anything and everything. Here's something I haven't tried, I've been talking about lately, but I know it'll work, and that's what I'm talking about. I don't want to really talk about things I haven't tried. I don't make a habit of that. But let me hear your thought, and you tell me if it's going to work. I was in Nashville at one of these events, and I was at my hotel, and in the parking lot, I noticed one day, I was out by my truck, and the parking lot next to the hotel, there was a commercial job site going on. And I was in the back corner of the lot where I could see just in the corner of their back lot, and they had a camera installed right there. And had the name of the construction company on it. So it wasn't a hotel thing, it was the construction company deal, right? But it was just any commercial jobs, we're always gonna have cameras everywhere, right? But I'm here to submit to you, I think it might be a good idea for us to start putting cameras at our job sites, even residential jobs, with the client's permission, of course. But you think about how easy it is to have these cameras at home with the Google Nest and all that stuff, the Wi-Fi camera, you can pull it up on your phone, So I think it'd be a great idea to install. I'm waiting for somebody to do it and tell me how it works. You know what I mean? Because I haven't gotten any of my own clients to do it yet. But I think that if we installed cameras, we could do all kinds of interesting things. I'm finding out through video, but we could do time lapses. We could literally, I think if they could see what it looked like when all the crews were there, you know what I mean, and trying to work around, along with the logs to show how complex it really was. Go for it.
I got a camera on my job site on my new construction.
There you go.
It works, and I can live stream from my phone.
There's a lot of reasons why it could be useful, right? A lot of reasons.
When I call it for fill, sometimes say I dump 40 loads, and sometimes it's not.
Sure, right. Sure.
Or recently, some guy came and said I dropped 20 pounds of sod. When
I wish to God I had that capability back in the day when I was a contractor, dude.
It runs off of sod.
When I was in landscaping. I mean, if I could have had, if there's anything I don't want to be a contractor, okay? I had to go through several hurricanes where I was fidgeting to get back in the game. You know what I mean? So I'm through all that now. I'm not going back, but I'm just saying if I were, that would be a big reason why I'd want to go, to really embrace the technology that's there now that wasn't for me. I just think you guys really have a lot going on with that, A couple things I want to know, a little bit off topic, but I wanted to cover it earlier and I forgot. And I can't let you leave without saying this. Whenever you go out and meet with a client, never, ever, I told you I wasn't going to tell you not to do things. This time I'm going to tell you. Never give them your Xactimate estimate until they sign with you. Right. So earlier I was saying, I'll let you come if you give me an estimate. if you have to do an estimate, do it for them at the job site, hand them your laptop and let them hold it for as long as they want, but they don't get it until they sign with you. And they're like, well, why don't you do it? Well, Mr. Jones, and this is not for you, but company policy, all right, is that, that Xactimate estimate is not what you're agreeing to. That is actually a proprietary tool that is utilized that will unlock the claim for the appropriate amount of money. And so, like, that's yours. Well, you have it, but we want to be the guy that gets to do the job, so we'll let you see it as long as you want, and as soon as you sign, you get it. We're not hiding anything from you.
That's what I want to ask you, like what Mr. Carl said at the beginning, is we might do all this legwork and get all these numbers down to get the approval for the funds, but who's to promise us the job once we're finished?
If the contract doesn't lock it up, then you've got a problem.
Number two, never, ever, never, ever. A couple more minutes now. I can pass the rest of the time just saying that. Meet with an adjuster without being signed.
Correct.
Never. Baltimore, there was a mother and son team at my event. They were a family business. They'd been in business since the 60s, and they just recently started doing insurance stuff. And they were telling us all at the class that day a story about how they had been working with this client. They went and met with the adjuster, got it from, a couple $100,000 to $1 million approval, and they lost the job to somebody else who did the job for $300,000. And I'm sitting there trying to help them figure out what went wrong. I'm asking them questions and all this stuff, And then I finally asked the question, well, did you have them signed? And they go, no. And I physically fell on the floor in the event. I fell on the floor, like just for impact, but I fell on the floor because I was like, so that's an extreme example of how things like that could lose you money,
All the customers are liars and criminals also. They want to give them all the money.
Until they're not, you know what I mean?
No, they're great people typically, but when that money hits, they think it's their money to spend it. Now they want to bid everything.
Yeah.
So our contract, we have two contracts. One's a regular cash sell, one is a subject to agreement. And that subject to agreement, I don't do anything until I explain everything to them and have them sign. Then we're going to spend time, money, and effort doing a scope, going through your whole house. But at that point in time, before any work is done, it's locked up. Now, they want to cancel the contract, line 11 on the back. No problem. I don't tell them that up front. They can read the contract and do whatever they want. But 3 days later, if they want to cancel, I take 25% of the claim that's approved. So, you want to cancel? No problem. Got me a check.
When have it happen? I want to take a look at that.
I got one truck.
He's like, yeah, I got one in the truck.
That's different from what I do because I'm not doing insurance right now. But like every contract we get, it's like, all right, well, this is what you want done. This is our quote. And
Sure.
You get signed
Just
up.
sell it up.
So a couple things.
Without,
Since we're talking about, I want to show you just something a little bit off top, but I want to show you since we're talking about that.
Well, my line, there's not a lot of variables. This is the house you're building. Pay. That's it.
Draw
the model's a little different, right?
Yeah.
But when we walk into the unknown,
So I actually have some agreements in here that you might find helpful because I actually don't agree with anything any of you guys are saying.
All right, very good.
So let me see. All right. So, and it's under the forms section. Here's my version of this, okay? This is my version. My version is that I'm hired to perform all repairs that are prescribed by the claim, okay? And so for me, the only agreement I would ever need is that right there. And I would sign it in the beginning, and I would never have to go back and have them re-sign anything else. Okay, once this is signed, it's signed and they're locked down till the end, and I've done multi-million-dollar projects with nothing more than this form right here signed. And at some point, I even got rid of the 25 legal jargons off the back because I found that they're like, oh, we'll hire you after we read this and run it through our attorney. You know what I mean? But the reality is that once I had to use these things to go and sue people and take them to court and file liens, I always freaking lose because the lawyer gets all the damn money and it takes years and I get nowhere. And if I go to court, I've lost. And so I'm not going to court. I'm going to stay ahead of the client with the cash, and they're going to sign not for a dollar amount. they're going to sign right there, and they're going to sign to hire me to perform all repairs that are prescribed by the claim for the total RCV value. There is no dollar amount. It's not a subject to. It's contingent. It's subject to the insurance claim being approved. But it's not. It doesn't need. It's not a subject to in the sense of what you're used to, like the sub contingency agreements and stuff like that. This holds up.
Basically the same.
This holds up
Put numbers.
all the way through the job.
Yeah.
So I just recommend, and I do have another one in here where if that's too vague and somebody wants more details, like you want to go into and have more payment terms, for example, I have this one, which is a little bit more in depth. But look at what the price is. The total agreement approved insurance RCV amount. It's a formula.
That's almost.
So you don't put any dollar amounts in it. You see what I mean? And so like if I were to, I would actually have a Word doc version here too, so you could change it around. But I would take and get rid of this whole section, and I would say all payments due as they arrive. Just sign over the checks. I'm just saying that. Look, when I was a contractor, this comes from me being a contractor, where I thought that I had to get them, that they wouldn't be willing to just sign over the whole check. So they have to put it in their bank and then split it up into installments, right? But then after I became a consultant and started working for contractors, I found that most contractors just have them sign over the check. And then I found that that's actually way easier to do. Even if it's an $80,000 check, they're way more willing to just sign that over to you. But once it goes into their bank, like he was talking about, once it goes into their bank, then it's like, oh, you want me to give you how much? You know what I mean? But if you do get the guy that's like doesn't want to do that, I'm like, wait a minute, I don't want to give you 80 grand up front. You haven't done any work and give you pay. So for that guy, you say, okay, well, we could do this differently. Deductible, date, due upon signing, amount, whatever their deductible. That's literally the only dollar amount you would use on the whole thing. First check I would write due upon signing, like if they already had the check, or I would write, so no dates but words. So or I would write due upon first insurance check arrival. Amount, 1/4 total RCV. And that's what I would write, 1/4 total RCV, no dollar amounts, right? Because maybe the RCV today is 21,000. I go back and supplement it later and it goes up. You see what I mean? Second check, date, due upon roof completion. Amount, 1/4 total RCV. Or maybe due upon roof material arrival, 1/4 total RCV, right? Or due upon flooring completion. Doesn't have to be a roof job, right? And you could put more of these on bigger jobs or less than these. Final check, date, due upon final completion and receipt of all insurance funds. Amount, balance, not 1/4, balance of insurance proceeds, because it'll go up and down, right? So now you have a formula that when the approvals come in, they're all in place. You know, so if I had 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, if it was 21, let's say it was 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. And let's say it was 21,000, because you could do that. You can do 1/3, do whatever you want. It was based on the job. Say it was a $21,000 approval. And so I had on the first check, it was 1/3 total RCV. I go get that, and it's $7 grand. And then I go do the roof, or I get the roof material to get the next checkpoint, and it says 1/3 total RCV. But let's say by then I got a supplement approved up to 33 from the 21. So now I'm not going to get 7 from them, I'm going to get 11, plus they were short by 4 on the first check. I get the other 4 on that too. You see how that works? So it's a formula that you can adapt. You don't ever have to go back. I think if you go back and have to try to get them to agree to different paperwork after the approval comes in, then that's an opportunity for them to pull out, right? And so like you're going to get people that are going to still screw you no matter what paperwork you get. And my solution to stay out of court and to control that is to stay ahead of the client in the cash. The one who holds all the cash makes all the rules, okay? So to his point, when he was talking about, yeah, I'll let you out of it, give me a check, right? My thing is if I'm getting money, listen, if I have to provide $20,000 of service to the client, I hope that I have 30 or 40 in cash on hand already from that client. Does that make sense? You have to stay ahead of them with the cash. However you do this has to be designed to stay ahead of them. That way, when they go to pull out, then they have to come and beg for money back from you versus you going to try to track them down, trying to threaten them to get your money. You see what I mean? They have to come and beg for money back from you. I'd much prefer it that way because they don't care. Well, Lean, I don't care. You can't take my house. You can't, by the way. If it's a homestead, if they live there, you can't take it. They're like, I don't care, I'm never leaving here. File as many liens as you want. You know what I mean? I've heard it all. And so I've just found, court, for me anyway, this is, again, just for me, court's not for me. It was I never again, dude. So I'm going down that road, like trying to go after people. Just screw me over, I've literally, when I transitioned to this, I've been screwed since, not nearly as bad, but like, I got a guy from Irma that owes me 6 figures. But I never sent him even a demand letter. Just moved the hell on with my life. That's just me. I'm too old. I don't want conflict, and you know what I mean? Like, I feel like if that were to go wrong, it was somehow my fault. I gotta just, somehow I should have seen it coming, or you know what I mean? And I'm just gonna have to learn from it and move on. And I know that probably the majority of you guys here do not feel that way, and that's okay with me. You know what I mean? That's okay. Like you're gonna go and take them down if they screw you over, and get a lawyer and do whatever you gotta do. Great, you know what I mean? But again, this is just me sharing my methods. No more court for me, guys. I'm done with that, So like, that's why I said I actually just took off all the stuff off the back eventually. And I had an attorney come to my Columbus event, and he emailed me, like, he's a buddy of mine. He goes, you cannot say that to them. He was like, and if you do, you have to put like a disclaimer, like, this is not legal advice, But anyway, for whatever it's worth, that's my version of it. Any questions on any of that?
2 questions. One, can we use that if we modify a little bit? Are you sharing that with?
Yeah, that's yours. Okay. That's in the documents, yep. And it's in Word doc and PDF. PDF is just so you can see it, but the Word doc you can modify.
It's just about a picture copy of our contract.
Awesome. There's also a letter of authorization in here.
Only read that first line to the customer.
Yeah.
First line says, this contract does not obligate you, the homeowner, or the company in any way unless we get the claim approved.
It says less threatening that way. Less,
Well, and see, I'm of the mindset I want to go ahead and read everything, even fine print, and I want to, like, what's the most uncomfortable part about it, for example, like the fact that they're going to have to make payments or the deductible or whatever. That's the item that I'm actually not going to gloss over. That's what I'm going to confront dead on, right? That's just me. Like, I feel like, and just how to bring this all together, if you're doing an inspection with people, I would go out to the inspection, and before even getting started with the inspection, I prefer to sit down with the client, and go over some of this stuff first, all right? So like my version would be 5 to 7 minutes of building rapport with the client before even doing anything. Like, you get there, that's hard to do, because they're like, if an AC guy came to my house, I'd answer the door, I'd be like, oh, AC guy? Oh, right this way. You have that notion, just go ahead and get done what you're trying to get done. And so like, on the phone, I like to cover things ahead of time, right, before I come out.